very scientific, it's all very technical, and there's a lot of chemistry involved that people don't understand. Right? I mean, obviously, governments themselves don't understand. India is very different because we have this beautiful, very fragmented, with very intricate network of millions of kabadiwalas and raddiwalas and aggregators and traders and what have been doing all the donkey's work. India is at the forefront of all of this as well, with the extended producer responsibility framework that is going to come up in 2025, which makes the use of recycled plastic the norm.
You are in a business where your eventual goal is for you to not exist, right?
Yes.
That if your purpose gets solved.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you think that can ever happen? Hi guys, we have Raj with us today. He's a co-founder of Banyan Nation, which is into circular economy, where they are doing plastic recycling. So I've heard about circular economy for the first time right now from you. So I would let you describe a little bit more about what you guys do, and and then take it forward.
For sure. Thanks, Naveen. Thanks for having me and for having Banyan over. Banyan is a market-defining company in the circular economy space here in India when it comes to recycling of plastics. We are a sole supplier of safe human contact and food contact compliant recycled resins recovered from post-consumer waste for all the major multinational brands in the country and beyond.
Okay, great. So I believe, Raj, you must have spoken, extensively about your business. Why does your business exist? So, and I think there is an increasing need for businesses like yours, which are, now coming into the fore, and I'm sure has been around for some time as well. So, just want to understand that if companies like yours don't exist today, right? Where is our planet headed, and why is the need for a Banyan Nation?
Yeah, that's a very pertinent question. It's something that we get asked a lot, and we ask ourselves as well. Our vision is to democratize the entire plastic waste value chain in the country, and bring it from informality into the formal sphere. And that's been our work over the last decade. Before Banyan, there's always been a very vibrant informal waste value chain in the country that has existed since independence. There are, millions of people in the trade, and this is a livelihood business for them. But what has been happening is all the good work that they have been doing over the last several decades is really not reaping any dividends, because all the plastic that we recover, and India recovers close to 60 to 70% of the plastic that it discards, is just being downcycled. And it just follows a linear curve where, it doesn't see the light of day, it's not back on the shelves, and as a result of which it becomes really, really polluting. And it also gives a very, very bad, perception that, all plastic is bad, so it needs to be banned. It's not so much plastic, but the single-use nature of plastic that is the issue here. And I think that is where we come in, being the pioneering company to drive circular economy in India for the very first time. So before Banyan, there was no concept of circular economy. So when Mani and I came back from the US back in, 2012, 2013, we wanted to solve India's garbage problem. But then what we realized is that, waste management is a state subject. It's driven by, governments, local, state or national. And then recycling is a completely informal sector driven paradigm. Completely different value chains, completely different business models and impact potentials. So being a technologist, we felt that, this is something that we could really, have a tremendous impact in the space. And so we started working on, informal sector integration, building supply chains, building digital platforms, and finally pivoting really quickly to, building really world-class recycling technology. whether it is like super cleaning of plastics or converting the recovered plastics into premium quality resins that can go back safely into food or human contact applications. So before Banyan, there was a lot of recycling going on and still happens in the PET space, which is really your water bottles and your cola bottles, but nothing in what we call polyolefins, which is your everyday plastics, your chairs, buckets, mugs, shampoo bottles, lotions, conditioners, and what have you. So we have sort of paved the path over the last decade, and we have shown that circular economy as a concept is the norm now. It can be the norm, and its time has come. And there's a viable business that can be built with the right integrations and partnerships and collaborations across the board.
Sure, sure. So I had so as a layman, I mean, who does not understand too much. So for example, why is this whole thing against plastic? I mean, what does it do to our environment? And I've seen and heard that it's very difficult to break it, or for that matter, I mean, dissolve it, and that's the reason why it is bad for the environment. Why this whole I mean, thing against plastic? If you could explain it for a layman like me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, see, it's not so much about plastics, right? Because plastics is all over the planet, and we really cannot exist without plastics, right? Whether you take healthcare or you take all your mobile devices that you are using, or your household articles, or even the clothes that we are wearing, everything is made from some sort of plastic or the other. Even the chair you're sitting on, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good that has come out of our sort of evolution from using only metal or using only wood to using something like plastic, which is at the end of the day coming from it's a byproduct of petrochemical.
Sure.
Right, whatever is considered a waste there is getting converted after basically mining crude and then refining and everything. You're making all these the polyethylenes and polypropylenes and so on and so forth, and they're very versatile, right? They are lightweight. They, especially on food related applications, they let you store food for long periods of time without getting spoiled and so on and so forth, right? And all your syringes and what have you, right? I mean, COVID has been a great example of that, where some will claim that plastic has saved the day, simply because you have masks and everything that can be made at an accelerated pace, simply because you have access to all this polymer, right? And it's also safe. It has proven beyond reasonable doubt. The issue at hand is more on the use, right? There is no viable model at this point in time, given its versatility, and that is where it's also its curse, is because how do you reuse, right? How do you recycle? And for that, you need to have these massive collection systems, aggregation systems, and sorting systems that can identify the various types of resins, right? It's all very scientific, it's all very technical, and there's a lot of chemistry involved that people don't understand. Right? I mean, obviously, governments themselves don't understand. A lot of the stakeholders, whether it's your producers or other institutions, they themselves who are putting packaging out there, they don't understand, because we are targeting the application, right? I mean, how do I keep my food safe? So let's go design packaging to keep food safe. How do I put it on the shelf some more? Right? So you're working backwards from the various applications to figure out what is the best way to package something. Right, and that is leading to certain consequences which we are dealing with now. And when you hear that it's going into the oceans, it's going into marine life, it's coming back into the food chain, all that is very true. Right, and the reason why that happens is not because somebody has any mal intent, so to speak. It's more that the infrastructure on the ground does not exist to recover all that in a timely manner. And that's where India is very different, because we have this beautiful, very fragmented, very intricate network of millions of kabadiwalas and raddiwalas and aggregators and traders and what have been doing all the donkey's work. So when you and I just throw something in the bin, you don't really have to worry about it, because the moment it's outside your door, somebody is going to pick up whatever is valuable, right? Whatever they deem that can be like either reused or recycled, and that is part of our DNA and culture. It has been for a very long period of time. But now I think there's a lot of maturity in the conversations that is coming, where not only locally but also globally there are various treaties and collaborations that are being sort of evangelized and policies being written, and India is at the forefront of all of this as well, with the extended producer responsibility framework that is going to come up in 2025, which makes the use of recycled plastic the norm in the country, right? And we are consuming 20 million tons of plastic on an annualized basis and discarding about half of that. About 60-70% of that gets recovered, but most of it gets downcycled. And that is where companies like Banyan Nation are here to basically shift the paradigm and drive circular economy in a big way. And in the decade to come, I think what you will see is there'll be a lot more companies like us which are emerging in the space, because it's a very capital intensive industry. It requires a lot of patient capital, and it requires a lot of technocrats and business people and stakeholders such as government and private enterprise to sort of work together and collaborate together to solve the problem. I mean, there's no silver bullet.
So, I mean, you mentioned that you came from US and directly, you immediately started Banyan Nation, after you guys came back?
We came back to start Banyan Nation.
Oh.
I mean, Banyan was actually incubated at Columbia's Greenhouse incubator, where Mani was studying. He was doing his MBA at Columbia and Berkeley. And, we go back a long way. I mean, we go up 20 plus years. And we were at this crossroads independently figuring out, what to do next. And he started working on this business model for basically solving India's garbage problem. And then it sounded super interesting and meaningful. And we, being born and brought up in India, I mean, always wanted to sort of come back and do something that has an outsized impact. Right, so that led to the creation of Banyan. And obviously, if you want to solve a problem in your country, you should be here, right? I mean, you can't sit in New York and solve anything on the other side of the world. So we quit whatever we were doing and just packed our bags and came back and dove right in.
But while you were young, I mean, you could have chosen, you guys were sharp, intelligent folks, you could have chosen a fancier business to do, which also carries a lot of limelight as well. I'm just asking you a very,
No, you're very kind. It's a euphemism for stupidity. But
so what made you choose, not go for a fancier business like a building, a popular brand, instead of that, choosing a much more impactful but less fancy business?
Sure. I mean, that's a very pertinent question, right? I guess it's just in our DNA to pick up problems that nobody is really caring about or looking to solve, but that we believe that is worth solving, right? I mean, we have a take on every problem. I mean, you're right. I mean, it could have been education, it could have been healthcare. For us, it's all about what is really fundamental. Where can we have an outsized impact, right? That is going to sort of outlive us. And something that we can solve within our generation.
Sure.
Right? So it's just that the problem and the purpose is so much bigger than you that it just makes it that much more exciting.
You spoke about DNA. Where does that DNA come from?
I mean, at the end of the day, it comes from the founders, right?
No. So where does it come for founders?
I mean, it's your personality. Right, it's not something that obviously you'll draw inspiration from a lot of different places as you go along. But see, we are at the end of the engineers and researchers, and even back in the US, we were working on really, really foundational problems and some really cutting edge stuff, right? Whether it was in robotics or in wireless communications or mobile tech, right? We were doing all of these things. So. But for us, it was just about, how impactful is this, right? How groundbreaking is this? And what can we do that is going to, fundamentally change or transform the way in which we are living or impact the future generations in a very positive way, right? So this just happened to be that problem. I mean, the problem picked us. I think we didn't really pick the problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, while now you've been building Banyan Nation for almost a decade now, what is I mean, can you just, if you recall, what has been the most challenging time while building this business, which has such a strong purpose behind it?
Several, right? Every challenge is an opportunity. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, every day there is a new challenge, right?
Sure.
Every day is a new day in this business or any business for that matter, because we are in a very evolutionary cycle.
Yeah.
Right? When we came, there was no data on the ground on what is happening to the waste in the country. I mean, even today, you'll find many pockets in the country or even many pockets across the globe where people really don't know what's happening to their waste, right? Just some macro trends. You really don't know who cares or who does not care. I mean, just you caring about the problem
Yeah.
is not enough, right?
Yeah.
But we had we had a certain hypothesis, and we just went about in a very structured sort of manner on a discovery process to understand the waste value chain, understand what was happening, and then come up with the next hypothesis saying, okay, I think this is where, being who we are, we can add value, right? And so this, whatever we are doing now is our take on the problem, and it has become the norm. Right, and it's not that circular economy was something that it was an opportunity for anybody to grab. Right, we had to evangelize, we had to raise funding under a lot of tenuous circumstances because nobody is talking about this. Obviously every day you get questioned on, is this really worth solving? For us it was about not just the problem statement itself, but then, is this a problem worth solving beyond just the two of us, right? Who else in the ecosystem cares about it? I mean, do the brands care about it? Does the investor community care about it? Can you attract the right kind of talent to solve the problem? And we have been very, very fortunate. I mean, we have found great investors and great customers, and obviously, a lot of rich talent who feels as passionate as we do about solving this problem. So, but every day is a new day. You have to make the case that why you exist matters, what you do matters. But I think we are at this inflection point where we have proven beyond reasonable doubt that Banyan is a force to reckon with. And the next decade for us is all going to be about growth and scale, taking this to a logical conclusion, and obviously returning capital and then some to the people who have backed us over the last decade.
Sure. I know that you have spoken about all these things a lot, but from your life, I think there were a couple of highlights before we were speaking, before we went on air in front of the camera. You spoke about having studied in US, so I want to delve a little bit more on it. So there are a lot of people who aspire to go outside India and want to study, and I see a lot of families around me, educated families want to send their children outside India. I mean, but I also know for a fact that India also has those IIM, ISBs or IITs of the world, which is producing great talent, which is, I mean, and companies in US want to hire from us as well. So going outside and studying in US, what edge does it give you compared to studying in India?
See, there is no binary answer here, right? I mean, it's your personality combined with your passion and purpose and what really you're looking for. I think back in the day when Mani and I went to the US 20 years ago, I think for us it was, we were researchers at heart and we wanted to do more fundamental research, right? And I think US offered that kind of scope. So I went to a research school, we worked in a lot of deep tech, and then we went on to do whatever we were doing back then in the West Coast, and then we came back, and here we are today, right? So it has shaped a lot of perspective and has definitely helped us in our journey having that kind of exposure and worldview. But I think, the world has, gotten really close to home now, right? So with access to a lot of digital content and the best minds out there, I mean, everything has become more democratized and more transparent. I mean, there is no reason why somebody should always venture out. I mean, we have great institutions and great companies here in Repel, and obviously a very vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, I mean, you can no better place than India at this moment in time, right? So there is no rule. I think it just boils down to what you are trying to do, and if India is giving you that kind of platform, then that's great. If not, if there's a foreign institution that is giving you that, then I mean that's what you should endeavor to do.
So is it beyond academics, the exposure and perspective which you're talking about?
For sure, right? Because see, especially, I mean, again, this is my personal take,
Sure.
nothing to do with what is going on in the public sphere. But if you look at high school, or if you look at engineering, and I'm only talking because I'm an engineer, there's more application-oriented exposure that you get, and not just academic theory.
Can you give an example? I'm sorry.
I mean, you have like summer internship programs, right, where you can apply to companies that come to the university, and they'll pick up interns, right, or you can go and spend your summer, right. I mean, the lab that I was working on, I mean, we had an undergrad. It was a lab full of PhDs, but you still had an undergrad who came and spent time working on some really cool robotics, right. So all this is possible, right. They're all very open. And I'm sure there are schools in India beyond the IITs and the IIMs and the NITs, and there are also companies which are sort of looking for great talent early on, especially in the entrepreneurship segment, and also well-established multinationals as well, who have this sort of worldview that will accept. But I think in our experience, this has been one of the great things, that you get access to industry and what's going on out there really early on, and you can do that year over year till you graduate. So by the time you graduate, you really have a really good sense of where you're going and what you might want to do, right? And if you want to get into more academic stuff, you can go ahead and do that as well.
Sure.
Right? So there's a really nice progression and a lot of diversity as well, right? Because you don't only have to do engineering, you can do a lot more and have a much more well-rounded sort of outlook and exposure. So at least for us, that was the case 20 years ago. So that's where my sort of lens is coming from.
Okay, great. And I mean, if you have to, let's say, if Indian education system has to learn something from that of US, because you have the reference point of US there, and if other people, students from other countries have to come and study in India, just the way it happens in US, what all can we learn from the US education system?
I don't think I'm the right person to comment on what we can learn or what they can learn. I mean, there are experts in edtech and in education in general. But I think, like I said, see, the world has come so much closer to us, right? So I see people just in Banyan who are doing a lot of courses outside of work, who are like, reskilling or upskilling themselves, whether it is in data science or, attending a course in MIT. There's open courseware and so much good stuff going on, right? I think learning has generally become more open.
Sure.
So I think that is a great positive. Where education is coming to your doorstep.
Sure.
If you are seeking it.
Sure.
So I wouldn't really compare and contrast one system to the other, because everybody is learning from everybody else.
Sure.
Yeah.
You also mentioned that you are an introvert. I mean, and you have very limited family as well as a friend circle. So, as an introvert, how has it helped you shape as an entrepreneur? And where has it been a constraint for you?
I think we've been very lucky because, Mani and I are completely different personalities.
Okay.
Right? I mean, he's a completely extroverted person, and I'm on the inside. So both of us do really deep work, but we bring very different worldviews that I think has helped us stay the course, stay true to the vision, and hyper focus on what we do really well, and build a world class team and an ecosystem and an infrastructure around it. So there's no one personality type that is right or wrong. It just boils down to, in the evolutionary cycle of your life, or even the journey in your career or entrepreneurship or whatever you're doing, how open-minded are you to sort of learn and put yourself out there and challenge yourself and take yourself to the next level, right? So it just boils down to that. I mean, everybody is going to have blind spots and stuff that they need to sort of retool and tinker with, but it's just your journey at the end of the day, right?
Okay, all right. And so let's say if in case a young entrepreneur has to come to you and and tell you that they want to start out in this journey. So what are the top 3 things which you will advise him on in terms of which can help him or her become a great entrepreneur?
See, my personal take has always been, there are 2 ways. I mean, I'm sure there are more, but I see like 2 ways to keep it simple. Is it opportunistic, whatever it is that you're trying to solve, or is it something that has a greater purpose, right? And there is no right way or wrong way. It just boils down to, if there are certain tailwinds and you feel that you are best positioned to sort of take advantage of that. So that's one way to sort of embark on a journey. The other way is you feel really like passionate about solving a certain problem that nobody cares about or has cared enough about, and you feel that you are the best person to solve that problem. So that's one way to go. What kind of person you are. But having said that, I think it's very important to be sort of grounded in the fundamental realities of business and life, and know when you're actually making progress and when it's all sort of in your head and it's a fool's errand, because at the end of the day we have a fiduciary responsibility to everybody who is backing us, right, or has taken a bet on us as well. So we are very, very mindful of that. That we are doing right by each and every stakeholder, whether it is a person who is working for us, or is a person who has invested in us, or who is a customer who is believing in us, right? So that's why we are always, for us at Banyan, we are committed by excellence and we are driven by science, right? I mean, that has always been our DNA and continues to be. And I think you have to decide for yourself what your North Star is.
Okay. And last question, what next? And when would you be satisfied in terms of where do you see Banyan going from here on?
We are very restless beings at the end of the day. We really don't have any goal post, so to speak, because this is a problem that is much larger than us. But having said that, we are very well positioned to take advantage of all the regulation that is coming down the pipe in the next 12 months. So we are, this is in the works. We'll be at, 5x of where we are in terms of installed capacity by 2025-26.
Superb.
And then the endeavor is, every 2 years we keep doubling that. Because like I said in the beginning, I mean, this is a humongous problem. There are tens of millions of tons of waste that is getting collected, but it is not getting reused or recycled. That is our vision at the end of the day, is to basically democratize the entire waste value chain and make circular economy the norm in the country and beyond.
See, you are in a business where, I'm sorry, one more question popped up. But you are in a business where your eventual goal is for you to not exist, right?
Yes.
That if your purpose gets solved.
Yeah.
So, do you think that can ever happen?
See, I wouldn't put it as I should not exist. It's more, think about it as a flywheel,
Okay.
right? The journey is from a treadmill to a flywheel. And as long as you are able to spur another, say, 100 or 1,000 or 100,000 banyans to sort of sprout, and take the journey forward. I mean, we will continue to do whatever we are doing because for us, there have already been like a dozen pivots, right? So with every plant we build, every new material that we deal with, there's always been a retooling, recalibration, and a rethink, right? Go back to the drawing board and sort of refresh, reset and refresh what you're doing, right? Because everything, like I said, it's a challenge and an opportunity, right? But we would be really, really flattered if there were more Banyans out there, whether it's in the country or beyond, doing what we are doing, because it will take a lot more of us. Because the world is what, I think, if I'm not wrong, consuming about 400 million tons of plastic on an annualized basis. So it's an ocean out there, and somebody has to do the hard yards to basically stem the tide. Right, and that's where we are.
Great. Thanks a lot, Raj, for your time. And I mean, it was really insightful. I got to learn and know a lot of new things today. So thanks for taking out time. And I hope that any parting thoughts from you?
Many, but see, like I said, right, for us, I think we are at an inflection, not just in our journey, but also, in the journey of the country as well. Right? I mean, you hear a lot of things about Swachh Bharat and Vikshit Bharat, and it's very heartening for us because I think we are at the epicenter of all that, right? For us, I think the next decade is going to be defined by our ability as an organization to really realize the vision of Swachh Bharat. Also, like I said, at our level, right, we already have a very, very vibrant ecosystem of informal suppliers that we work with. I mean, we have mapped over 10,000 of them across the country. We worked actively about 500 or 600 of them just in South India, who again work with about 4,000 or 5,000 much smaller players, right? So over the next decade, we are going to endeavor to at least bring 100,000 micro entrepreneurs. They already are entrepreneurs in their own right, into a formalized supply chain, which we have been building since day one, so that we can continue to drive ethically sourced, responsibly recycled human contact and food contact recycled plastic into mainstream use.
Superb. Great. All the best to you and your team. And I'm quite certain that with such a fantastic team you have got, you will be able to achieve what you are set out to.
Thanks, Naveen. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.